My dudes, they are among us. The 0.5 patch notes, I can't freaking believe that it has actually been like 2 weeks since the reveal of 0.5, and here we are. A week away from the patch itself. The patch that has been described as the biggest PoE patch of all times. The 0.5 patch in Path of Exile 2, my dudes. Let's go. It's quite a big one. I mean, look at the table of contents here. it's quite the beefy one. So we might be here for a while. So happy Friday to you all. Cheers. Cheers, my dudes. And yeah, let's get this patch note party started. So I think instead of like going, like picking one by one here, I'm just basically gonna scroll the way, like down here, and I'm just gonna do it little by little here. So the Return of the Ancient expansion contains a new league, an overhaul to Path of Exile 2's endgame, with 6 new endgame storylines and 2 new Ascendancy classes, as well as a huge amount of other content. For more information about this expansion, check out pathofexile2.com/ancients. I mean, that's what we're here for, right? So I think we're in the right place, my dudes. Our biggest expansion ever. So coming up first here is the Runes of Alder League. Start fresh in the new economy with Runes of Alder League. Yeah, so basically this is what's happening every single big update to the game in Path of Exile. It's called a league. Basically, it works similar to like a season in other games. So basically, if you are playing the new league, you are basically playing all the new updates in like a reset world. So you kind of have to create a new character. You have to create new character builds. And they're all gonna start fresh. So I've been simulating lately a lot of these like Leaguestarters scenarios. So I've been simulating this a lot. So if you've been watching my latest sessions, this is kind of like what I've been practicing the last couple of weeks. So we are all going to be starting fresh. If you want to keep playing your character, you can in the standard realm. So in just a couple of days, I think it's in like 3 days. So basically like on Monday, in 3 days, your character will be leaving the current Fate of the Vaal League, and it's going to be removed, sorry, not removed, it's going to be moved or migrated to the standard realm with all your earlier characters, and that's kind of like where they go when the league ends. Okay? So let's keep reading here. In each area in the Runes of Alder League, you will find a remnant, which allows you to craft an item of your choosing by using runic recipes engraved into the slots on the remnant. Depending on the rune shapes used, you will then face an encounter with tough enemies that you will need to defeat to claim your item. So I really like this system. Like we've had a lot of them in Path of Exile 1, in PoE 1. the last few leagues. The mechanic of like you engaging a mechanic and you kind of like have to defeat the monsters to get to the basically like the mechanic itself, which in this case is going to be a whole new rune crafting and rune forging system. It's going to be super interesting to dive deeper into this. Each additional rune shape used to craft the item will increase the number of waves of enemies, adding additional runic modifiers to enemies with each wave. So basically, harder and harder waves, right? Remnants start with any number of slots between 2 and 10, with higher numbers being much rarer, but allowing you to craft much rarer items. So this is going to be the new system that we are going to be encountering. And what is really cool is that the more of these recipes that we learn, the more of them we are going to be able to create. Monsters raised by remnants can drop verisium metal, a new currency. Added new NPC Pharaoh with 4 new quests in the campaign, allowing you to unlock various new crafting features. The new crafting system is going to be called Verisium Rune Forging. After unlocking Verisium Rune Forging in Act 1, this system allows you to add Runic Ward to your armors by spending Verisium. Armors lower than level 55 gain Runic Ward with no downside. Armors above this level trade some of the regular base defenses for Runic Ward. Okay, so the way this is going to work is like, it's not going to have any downside in the very beginning. But as soon as we get over level 55, there's going to be a little trade-off there. So the Runic Ward is a new defense. This defense kicks in once you reach 1 life, allowing you to continue to survive while your Runic Ward takes damage. Runic Ward regenerates independently of your life. So hopefully, Runic Ward is going to contribute and make the game feel better when it comes to like these basically like one-shots or these situations that it's like currently super hard to get out of in the game, and they feel really frustrating. So hopefully, the Runic Ward is gonna make that situation, like that's what I'm hoping for, that it's gonna make that situation feel a little bit better. There are other uses for the Runic Ward as well, but we will get to that in a second. Also, they have added 13 new alloy currency items, which can be unlocked through remnant encounters after completing Pharaoh's quest in Act 2. These items adds various new crafting modifiers to items by replacing an existing adds added, oh my god. One more time. These items add various new crafted modifiers to items by replacing an existing modifier, similar to perfect essences. Okay. Yeah, so the way perfect essences work is that they basically replace one modifier with a new one, right? And what you do with the perfect essence is that you pick the correct one that deterministically lets you craft that specific modifier, but it has a cost, and the cost is that it's going to remove one of the existing modifiers. After unlocking unique Verisium runeforging in Act 3, you can upgrade the base type of unique weapons and armors that drop at levels lower than 55. Upgraded unique weapons will have higher damage, and upgraded armors will have increased base defenses as well as runic wards. This is going to allow them to be more competitive at higher levels. Unique armors above level 55 can still be runeforged to modify their defenses to include runic ward at the cost of reducing their other defenses similar to the base types. Okay. So hopefully this is going to be a really good system. So you will not be encountering, or you will not be able to do this until you reach Act 3. I have no idea, like, how early in Act 3 we are gonna get access to this. Hopefully it's gonna be early. Because if you get one of those uniques in one of your campaign runs, where you kind of like really feel like, okay, this is a really cool unique, like I really want to keep like leaning in to this specific play style that this unique actually makes me want to play, right? Especially when it comes to weapons. Like the unique weapons can have like a lot of interesting effects. So it feels kind of bad if you are not kind of like able to keep using them, because they basically kind of, they just at a certain point feel like at a certain point in your progression, you just feel like, okay, I need to swap this item out for something else. But like the fact that you now can craft on it, making it stronger, means that it's going to be more viable and you can use it longer, basically. Which I think is cool. I really hope that they're going to nail this system. And I feel like the unique crafting, it's kind of shaping up to kind of like be its own, almost like its own mechanic. Or I guess like its own crafting mechanic. That really has the potential to be very defining for the game going forward. So the unique Verisium runeforging, it also has additional properties when you use them on the Kalguran uniques. So we are gonna have some new uniques coming into the game, my dudes. They are gonna be the Kalguran uniques. They've also added 13 ancient runes, which can be unlocked to be crafted by remnant encounters after completing Pharaoh's quest in Act 4. Okay. These runes have powerful bonuses specific to each weapon type. They've also added 13 mythical early game runes that can be crafted from remnant encounters to provide significant boosts to level 15 plus characters. Interesting. Also, they've added 3 fluxes, which can be crafted from remnants to transform the resistance on your items from one element to another. Interesting. Also added 15 meta crafting runes that can be crafted from remnants. And added 60 plus runes that can be created by destroying a unique to make a rune that gains some of its properties. So I wonder how this is gonna work. So we have been talking about this specifically in earlier sessions. The fact that you can now kind of gain some powers from the unique items in form of a rune. I guess it's going to be by disenchanting. So either it's going to be by disenchanting or it's going to be by you taking it to the yeah, maybe it's gonna actually, maybe this is actually gonna be something that's gonna be working not like disenchanting, but you're actually gonna take it to like the bench, you know, where you destroy superior and socketed items to get either the whetstones, the armor scraps, the yeah, those things, right? Maybe it's gonna work like that, I don't know. That's very interesting though, because there is like, I feel like there is like a little bit of, like you are getting a lot of unique items that you are basically just selling or turning into like a chance shard, right? They've also added 15 plus runic ward runes that can be crafted from remnants, adding or modifying properties related to runic ward. Okay. And they've added 20. Okay, so that was it for like the runes, I guess. That's it for like the new runes. What I think is really interesting is that it seems, just by reading this, it seems like there's not going to be a lot of like, or hopefully, it's not going to be a lot like, there's going to be like 160 new runes, but like 100 of them is going to be like the lesser and greater versions of them, and like 50 of them is going to be like the perfect versions, like kind of like a lot of like the base runes in the game works already. So it seems like these are going to be kind of unique and very different type of runes, which is really cool. So now we're moving on to the Kulguran skills, which is one of my biggest. Like, this is something that I have huge expectations for. They've added 21 Kulguran skills that can be crafted from remnants. Animus Exchange, Animus Splinters, Bitter Dead, Conductive Runes, Detonate Living. Detonate Living, bro, that's so funny. That's so funny because there is this skill in PoE called Detonate Dead, which has like a rich history. Eternal March, Explosive Transmutation, Fragments of the Past, Frost Flame Nova, Grim Pillars, Hollow Shell, Ley Lines, Powered by Versinium, Refutation, Remnants of Kalgur, Repulsion, Runic Reprieve, Skyfall, Triskelion, Cascade, Versinium Manifestations, and Voltaic Barrier. Okay, so that's the name of them. What they will be, what the effects will be, we will have to experience ourselves. The patch notes are so good. The bellman is gonna be a thing. Yeah. So here's the thing, Alex. So I'm glad that you're here. I'm really gonna be focusing like on just reading the patch notes to get through this. So if I don't respond immediately, that's why. So don't get mad at me, please, for that. I just need to focus, really focus on the notes to get through them. So additionally, we are going to be getting 8 Kalguran supports. We are going to be getting 8 Kalguran supports that can be crafted from remnants. Concussive runes, Fist of Kalgur, Healing runes, Kalguran Conviction, Rune-forged blades, Runic Extraction, Runic Infusion, and Scouring Flame. So at the moment, we have no idea what these, how these will function, but it's going to be super interesting to dive into those as soon as we are able to get our hands on them. Expedition remnants have been changed into the remnants from the runes of Alder League. Okay. New endgame story. Yeah, so this is obviously connected to the new league. Set out on an expedition with Pharaoh to explore the ocean as you investigate the tombs of fallen Kalgurans and challenge them to earn remarkable rewards. Seek out the crater of a fallen star, a meteor of pure verisium, from which you hope to forge objects of immense power, if you can defeat what awaits you there. Yeah, so this I'm also really excited about. So I wonder, like, what are these objects that we can forge that's gonna have immense power? And what is this power gonna be? Exciting. So it is kind of exciting not knowing, basically, like, what these things are gonna be. Like, it is a feeling in itself, right? I really love this excitement of like new things being added and like not knowing a lot about them. The excitement of discovering something new, right? There is now a hub area, the ruins of King's March, for the ruins of Alder to the southeast of your starting location on the Atlas. That's really cool also. I like these new hub areas that they're gonna be adding. Like the hub area thing is basically basically also like new. There's gonna be hub areas, as far as I understand it. There's gonna be hub areas for the earlier mechanics as well, which is really cool. The logbook mechanic has been changed into an ocean exploring mechanic. Using logbooks now unveils a section of the ocean with a variety of islands to explore. This is interesting. So basically, how logbooks are working or has been working up until this point is that basically you use one logbook to go to like one side area, while with the new system, like one logbook is gonna basically like unlock a whole cluster of new areas that we can go to. I really like this. I think it's really cool. I think this is cool for many reasons, but like I guess the main reason why I think this is cool is that it adds some really like deterministic ways to approach the end game. And you can also kind of set these goals for yourself. You know, if you don't, so if you're in a session where you don't necessarily have like 5 hours to spend to play the game, you can just set a goal for yourself to kind of unlock these expedition areas out at sea. And let's say, okay, I'm going to set a goal, I'm going to do one of these clusters today, or like two of these clusters today. And that's going to be like a very specific goal that you can set for yourself. I like this. Many new underground areas have been added that can be uncovered during expeditions. This is also really cool. Is this the start of Delve, my dudes? Is it like a little Delve teaser here that we are getting? Many new islands have been added with new grand expeditions, previously known as logbooks. Yes, I wonder if the island clusters are gonna be like I wonder if there is like a pool of them, you know? There is like a pool of different islands, and it's gonna be totally RNG, I guess, you know, how they actually spawn, but yeah, I wonder if that's the case. Medved, Vorana, and Uthred join Olroth as the four faction leaders available to fight on new islands that you can discover in the ocean. Defeating Olroth will give you a key that you can use to access the pinnacle boss for the Runes of Aldor. The new Runes of Aldor Challenge League includes the first set of challenges in Path of Exile 2. Earn pieces of the Knight of the Aldor armor set when you complete 2, 4, and 8 challenges in the Runes of the Aldor League. These challenge rewards are only obtainable in this league. And my dudes, we gotta catch them all. Right? This is so cool. Like, I've really been waiting for the challenge leagues to come to PoE 2. It's so cool to have like very specific goals that you go after. And it's cool that we are able to get those like lasting microtransactions. So these are only going to be like cosmetic items. But yeah. Does this mean you lose them after the league if you obtain them? No. You're not losing these items. So basically that's what's really cool about the challenge rewards, is that they are cosmetics that you kind of like bring with you. Yeah, they are yours forever, basically. But it's really cool to have them, you know, because then you can kind of like equip them, and you can think back at like when you obtain them, and it kind of like makes you kind of like a little bit reminiscent, you know, about earlier days, or like specific times, you know, specific leagues. You mean, can you only use it in Eternal or just leagues? You can use it however you want. So as soon as you unlock them, as soon as you get them, you can use them however you want. They are unlocked. So these are cosmetics. It's the same way as you would it's working the same way as like if you were to like buy like some cosmetics in the shop, you can use it from the moment you buy it on like anything. So just like once again, it's purely cosmetic, but it's really cool because, you know, you can equip these cosmetics at any time, and you can kind of like think of how you obtained them, or you can, yeah, it kind of takes you back. From the first challenge onwards, and for every league after that, you will receive pieces of the runes of the Alder totem decoration to display in your hideout. The totem pole permanently showcases how many of the runes of Alder challenges you completed during the league. So this is something that PoE 1 players is gonna love. So I was way too late into PoE 1 or starting to play PoE 1 to like have stashed up a bunch of these totem poles. But these totem poles are so cool. They're like a permanent addition to your hideout. That kind of showcases that you have done the challenges related to a specific league. It's really, really cool. It's a really cool system. All of your old characters from early access launch are still present, but a free passive tree refund has been granted due to the changes. We would highly encourage you to join the new leagues to fully take in the changes we made with the 0.5.0 update. So this is what I started to explain at the very start of this patch reading, is that what's going to happen in 3 days is that your current league, so the characters that you created in Fate of the Vaal league, is now gonna be migrated from the current league to the standard realm, where that's where all your character goes, all your earlier characters goes, to kind of like meet up in this eternal realm. So the reason why they are really, really promoting that they really want and recommend us to play the 0.5.0, the new league, is because like this is what's gonna have all the new changes, all the new good stuff. So the standard or the eternal realm is not gonna have these changes. So it basically wouldn't make sense to like keep playing your character in the standard realm if you want to experience like all the new stuff, basically. With 0.50, there are standard, hardcore, and solo self-found variations of the runes of the Alder Challenge League available. Basically, same as it has been up until this point. It's just different game modes, right? They all have the same core mechanics and items. And you can create private league versions of these leagues as well. The hardcore variations of Runes of Alder are parented to their standard Runes of Alder equivalent, meaning if you die in hardcore Runes of Alder, you can continue your character in this standard Runes of Alder League. So this is how it already works. Okay, so I guess that's like the information we are gonna be getting on the new league, for now at least. So we are gonna be moving on. We are gonna be moving on to endgame. The endgame changes, which is like a huge freaking part of this patch. The Atlas now has fixed points of interest at specific locations, giving you distinct objectives that are easy to find. All league mechanics on the Atlas now have quests that introduce the mechanic and guide you through its various stages up to the pinnacle boss. All pinnacle bosses now have quest versions that can be accessed deterministically, alongside repeatable non-quest versions that offers you a greater challenge. There has been 30 new endgame map areas. So I'm really hoping that like the changes that they have done, that we just read, like especially the points that describes, that the distinct objectives that we need to be doing are going to be easy to find. It's going to be easy to understand how to progress the different mechanics in endgame. Very cool. We also have the Origins of Divinity. That's the great endgame overhaul, basically. So we're gonna get a new main endgame storyline. The Cataclysm of the Beast has invoked an ancient protocol designed to scour for and purge corruption, should it ever take hold to this degree. Traverse the Atlas to enter the fortress and activate the gates. Obtain the keys to reach the ancient precursor weapons and disarm them. On completion of your first tower, a fortress will rise from the earth. This is so cool. This is so cool, and I think it's like so much needed. Like, I really, really think that I think we are gonna, so like there is gonna be a time when we look back at the game, basically, like before and after the big end game overhaul. I think that's gonna be the case, my dudes. Maps inside the fortress grant one or more passive points for the Atlas passive tree. This entirely replaces the previous method of gaining Atlas points. The current, or like what we can now kind of like call the previous ones, has been kind of painful. The way or like the current way we have to get the Atlas points has been just like, yeah, kind of painful. What's also interesting about this is that the entire Atlas tree can actually be activated, which is kind of insane, because that brings a lot more nodes and a lot more customizability to the end game itself. So just for like a quick explanation of this is that we are gonna have like the main end game Atlas tree, which is a new passive, basically a new passive skill tree that we are gonna be getting upon reaching end game. All the different specialized mechanics like Breach, Ritual, Abyss, the Temple, Delirium, and now the Alder, Runes of Alder, they are also gonna have their own specific skill passive trees to even further like customize those mechanics specifically. The Atlas tree has been significantly expanded with over 300 nodes. After completing all the maps inside the fortress, you will gain enough passive points to fully allocate the Atlas tree. Does that mean that inside the fortress there is going to be 300 plus maps? As the entire Atlas tree can now be, not three, yeah. I mean, it's been expanded with over 300 nodes. Okay, so I guess like, was that like all the nodes that was currently there plus 300 more, or is it like now it's like 300? Okay, I don't know. As the entire Atlas tree can be fully allocated, there is no need to allow respecialization for it anymore. multiple choices or multi-choices nodes on the tree can be changed between options at any time. Bro, that's insane. That you can just change, like you don't necessarily kind of like have to refund them. You just like change between them. That's interesting. I guess if you want to do like a big wipe of your atlas tree and kind of like start from the top again, you kind of like have to refund it. But there are gonna be a lot of these nodes that has like multiple choices, right? That you can actually change at any time. Many maps in the fortress have ancient modifiers that add or modify the contents of the map. Any maps with modifiers that add secondary content to a map also implicitly add that content to the map as well. They've added 40 plus ancient modifiers to have a chance to appear on any map outside the fortress. Okay, that's cool. That's really cool. It's just gonna feel each map feel a little different, I guess, right? So the only way like that very specific maps feels different now is kind of like or how it is right now. It's kind of like the randomized mechanic that you will get in it, the totally randomized mechanic, and also like the difficulty of it. But now, with like these new ancient modifiers in a pool of 40 plus, now that these can also be added to any map, right? Or they have a chance to appear in any map outside the fortress is huge, I think. I think this is just gonna make maps more fun to run, basically. Or more interesting to run, just like in general. They've added 3 gateway maps with 2 new bosses that can be used to access different sections of the fortress. This is cool. This is really cool. So this means that you can basically kind of like... So the fortress is going to be quite a big area, right? So the gateway maps is going to allow you to kind of like travel from kind of like one corner, I guess, of the fortress to the opposite corner, basically. Which is really interesting. Or like just different sections in general. Very interesting. New precursor tower maps have been added outside the fortress. Okay. The Burning Monolith, along with Arbiter of Ash, has been moved into the fortress. Okay. Quest versions of the Crisis fragments have been added to 2 Enigma chambers inside the fortress. Okay. That's interesting. So I guess this is only the quest version, but it's not going to change like how you can actually get them out in the citadels, right? Like out in the wild, as we already are doing, right? We are already getting these, doing the citadels to get the crisis fragments to do like the pinnacle boss, right? They've also added 2 new citadel maps with 2 new bosses that drops keys to the new pinnacle boss. Okay. So I guess we're only gonna have to get 2 fragments, 2 keys for the new pinnacle boss. So it is 3 we need for Arbiter of Ash, right? But it seems like the new one is only gonna require us 2. Interesting. Yeah, they've also added Arbiter of Divinity, Pinnacle Boss. Maps in the fortress can be alternatively completed by killing the Arbiter of Divinity 5 times to complete different sections of the fortress automatically in order to gain Atlas tree points. Okay, that's interesting. So instead of going into the fortress, kind of like completing every single map in there. You can actually kill the Arbiter of Divinity 5 times, I guess inside the fortress, right? To complete different sections of the fortress automatically. Yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, the new pinnacle is probably getting only 2 keys required because it's new. Yeah, maybe we will see. Moving on to the Masters of the Atlas, which is also like one of the new systems, added to Endgame. So the changes that we already covered are quite significant, but they are also going to be adding even more customization for the endgame with the Masters of the Atlas. So alongside the Atlas tree, there is going to be a new system called Masters of the Atlas, and it introduces ascendancy-styled progression for endgame. Players can align with different masters, such as Jado of the Order of the Jinn, or the monster hunter Hilda, each offering unique, asymmetric bonuses that can be swapped between maps at will, enabling build-defining bonuses. This is cool. This is really cool. And I think what's particularly cool about this is that when you unlock each master, you can change between each master between the maps you're running. This is really cool. You are not forced to pick only one. You can change them going between maps. So if you're doing, let's say, a run of like 5 maps in a row, between each map you can change what master you want to be running. Really cool. Changing them on the fly is really cool. Each master has 12 nodes, of which 4 can be selected at the same time. You can also change your selection at any time. All 3 masters can be allocated at the same time with a quick select button to change between each master before you run a map. Yeah, this is really cool. Unlock each row of 3 nodes by performing missions for the masters. I think this is really cool. Like, you also have to, like, there is gonna be some, like, quests tied to them, which I think is really cool. So we are not only gonna, so we are not just gonna get, like, this system that's gonna be thrown at us, and it's like, yeah, just try to figure it out, you know? And that's not gonna be the case. It's gonna be like an explanation of how it works, and it's gonna give us hopefully like a clear vision of how to use them, and it's gonna be all up to us when to equip the different masters and what type of bonuses each one is gonna give us. We're gonna get the new Atlas Master Dorianis Science questline, and it's unlocked by clearing a corrupted nexus. We're gonna get Hilda's hunting questline is unlocked by visiting Hilda's campsite, slightly southwest of your starting location on the Atlas. Jado's spycraft questline is unlocked by completing an anomaly map near the starting location. This I think is really cool as well. So you kind of feel like these 3 masters are almost kind of like 3 other players almost that are kind of also in the end game, kind of working alongside you, which is really cool, I think. Delirium. Maybe, or in my opinion, maybe one of the current mechanics in PoE2 that really, 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 really needed a rework. So, we're getting a new storyline associated with the delirium mechanic. An ancient trickster god has been unleashed, spreading madness across Rayclast. Do you dare to uncover his origins and confront your darkest fears? There is now a hub area, the Withered Willow, for Delirium, to the southwest of your starting location on the Atlas. The maps around this location all contain Deliriums, and give you points for the Delirium Atlas passive tree. The Delirium Atlas passive tree has been completely revamped with many new nodes and existing nodes changed. So after breaking a Delirium mirror, obviously in your, like in the map you're running, there is now a progress bar showing how deep you are in the fog and how long you have until the fog clears. The start of the Delirium bar represents your initial location at the Delirium mirror. The end of the Delirium bar represents the location of the map boss. Okay, that's interesting. So there's going to be like an end point that we can kind of like move towards to get to the boss. That sounds kind of cool, if that's the case. There are now a set of new Delirium encounters that can be seen on the Delirium bar. Reaching certain depths, or like certain thresholds, I guess, on the bar, will cause colored mirror shards to appear. Walking into the mirror shards will break them, activating the new encounters. But the different color ones will also give you different effects, right? So it's not stated here yet, at least, but yeah, that's the case, right? The bosses in Delirium will always be 100% delirious. The damage and life bonus given to monsters from Delirium has been reduced. Okay. Nice. Okay. Yeah, so it's not gonna feel like a complete like you are kind of like constantly kind of struggling to keep your head above water. They've added 5 new elite Delirium monsters. They've also added a new sub-area, the Loathsome Mire. The Loathsome Mire drops 2 new amulet base types that grants 2 instilled two instilled noticeables at the cost of either -1 suffix or -1 prefix. Okay. Liquid emotions can now be used to craft additional mods on jewels. These work similarly to greater essences, each having a set of specific mods that will replace a random existing mod on them. So basically we can now use the liquid emotions to craft on jewels, not only on amulets. So how it's been working up until this point is like it's been that the amulets only, right? Or have we been able to actually craft on jewels as well? I'm not quite sure. But I think it's, since it's like specified that it can now be used to craft on jewels, yeah, I guess this is new. Yeah, it hasn't been on jewels, yeah. So this is new. So the same way that you can kind of craft additional noticeables on your amulets using the liquid emotions, you can now actually also do some crafting on jewels, which is cool. Completing Delirium Mirrors now has a chance to spawn Grand Mirrors on the Atlas on a nearby map. Grand Mirrors create a duplicate of the map boss in the affected map. Killing both map bosses will unlock a new Atlas mechanic, the Trial of Madness. Okay, this is interesting. After triggering after triggering the Trial of Madness, fog will spread from a map of your choosing on the Atlas, including a locked simulacrum. While inside the fog, the entire map is delirious, starting at 10%. Killing rare monsters and the map boss increases the deliriousness of all maps in the fog. On reaching 100%, the simulacrum will become available. Deliriousness can continue to be increased up to 200% delirious. Yeah, this is really cool. So we've been seeing some demonstrations or like some videos, some very short videos and demonstrations of this. It's just so cool, like that this mechanic is just getting so much more content to it, and it's getting like it's going to be so more exciting to do, I think. Okay. Rare and unique monsters in Delirious maps have a set of new Delirious modifiers, giving them strange new abilities. Map bosses of Delirious maps can additionally drop a new set of 3 potent emotions that can be used to craft new powerful modifiers on jewels that are not available in the normal jewel mod pool. These emotions can also be used to instill a set of 16 new passive tree notables that are not normally available on the passive tree. Yeah, just that little sentence kind of like took this mechanic to like an even more complex space. when you think that like Path of Exile can't get like any more, so I don't want to say the word complicated, but when you think that Path of Exile can't expand more on a certain thing, but we still get this. Yeah. So I mean, we can call it complex. So this is what's gonna be complex for people. Like if you're thinking about Path of Exile 2, if you are not in the journey right now, like if you haven't been there, I would say like at least like if you're starting like a couple of years down the line. So if you start playing PoE 2 in a couple of years, like there is going to be so many things and the different systems are going to be so deep. But that's what really, really makes this game so great, I think. There is so much to learn. Just like in every freaking mechanic, in every League mechanic, there is hundreds of hours to be spent just freaking learning these systems. So it's going to be really interesting to see like what these new set of passive tree noticeables are going to be. It is so much better to play the league mechanics as they are added. Coming into it all can be overwhelming. Yeah, 100%. 100%. It can be very overwhelming just coming into like when things are really ramping up now. Like the complexity is really ramping up now. The systems are getting deeper and deeper by the patch here, so yeah. So I totally agree. It's so much better to play them as they are added. So Simulacrum has been updated and is now a 7-wave encounter. Completing a Simulacrum will now give you a key to face the new Delirium Pinnacle boss. There is a new set of 10 ancient emotions that can drop if unlocked by the Atlas tree, which can be used to craft time-lost jewels. There are also 3 ancient potent emotions that can be used to craft new powerful modifiers on the time-lost jewels that are not normally available in the mod pool. Some non-amulet delirium uniques now drop with the Raven Touched modifier, allowing them to be instilled. Yeah, I mean, it's like, it's just so mind-boggling, like, how much work has actually gone into this, like, one mechanic right here. It's really cool. We are going to be moving on to the breach changes, my dudes. This is definitely one of my favorites. Like, I just have to say before we start looking into the breach deeper, I'm so happy that Delirium is getting the love that it deserves. I'm just gonna say. I'm so happy. I'm happy for you, Delirium. Super excited to dive deeper into that as well, as we get the drop of the patch in a week. So the breach also has a new storyline. Travel to the Monastery of the Keepers, the hallowed halls of the Keepers of the Flame, and discover the Genesis Tree, stolen from the enemy and gifted to the Keepers by the Dreamer himself. This is so cool. This is so like fairy tale. It's so like almost like a dark gothic fairy tale type of thing. The whole thing with the Genesis Tree. I feel like the Genesis Tree itself, like, deserves its own freaking, like, spin-off, or it deserves its own, I don't know, like, freaking film in cinemas or something. It's just so cool. There is a new hub area. Yeah, this is the Monastery of the Keepers. It's gonna be to the south of your starting location on the Atlas. The maps around this location all contains breach encounters. Completing these maps gives you points for the breach Atlas tree. Yeah. The breach Atlas passive tree has been completely revamped with many new nodes and existing nodes changed. Starting a breach now shows a progress bar that indicates how long you have until the breach will close, as well as how much time killing monsters is extending the life of the breach. So reaching the 100% on this bar will begin a new mechanic, a stabilized breach. A stabilized breach will spawn new challenges at its starting point. Very cool. So they added new bosses to the stabilized breach. And they've added a new boss to the stabilized breach. It's Rune, Marshal of Sesht. Oh, okay, so Rune is the Marshal of Sesht. He is not... okay, so I actually thought that Rune and Sesht was like the same dude. but they are not. Because what's gonna give us this this extra mechanic, this orchard, I think it's called, or orchard, this extra mechanic that's gonna be added to the Genesis tree. So the Genesis tree itself, right? This is kind of like a deterministic way to craft some really cool items, some rings, some amulets, some belts, and you can also actually kind of craft currency, which is really cool. But there is going to be this totally new thing. But to unlock this totally new thing with the tree, you're going to have to bring the head of Rune to the tree. If I understand. So it's either going to be like you're going to have to bring the head of Rune, or you're going to have to bring the head of Zesht. Like, I'm not 100% sure. I feel like there is like a little bit of like weird... This is little bit weird communicated. Because in one place it says like you need to bring the head of Rune, and in another place it says like you need to bring the head of Zesht, so I'm not quite sure. It's gonna be one of them at least. And it's gonna add this extra thing to the tree, which is basically like a bunch of these like twisted hands that you can socket rings on. And we do know that you can socket basically... We do know that you can socket breach rings onto this tree, but we don't know if you can actually socket regular rings to the tree. And basically you add a certain amount and then you do an exchange. Yeah, so the cap of this is going to be 60. But we don't know yet if there is going to be like these other thresholds. So when you get like 10, you might be able to do an exchange. We don't know if you're gonna have to do 60 rings to do the exchange. We don't know. And we also don't know if it's only gonna be applying to breach rings. But this is really interesting. It's a really interesting new mechanic. So the Genesis tree itself allows consuming of womb gifts and hive blood to create rings, amulets, belts, and currencies. So the womb gifts, these are going to be items that's going to be dropping from just like the regular breach encounters, right? So you're going to be dropping womb gifts and hive blood. And that's like the items that you need to do crafting on the tree. So the tree allows the consuming of the womb gifts and the hive blood to create rings, amulets, belts, and currency. And nodes on the Genesis tree can be allocated to affect what items will be crafted. So basically, this is kind of like the deterministic aspect of this. Like, you can choose to put points into like getting a specific type of rings, or like a greater chance of getting like this specific type. And you can also pick nodes to kind of like reduce the chance of getting other types that you're not interested in. And this can also, like, at any time, just be reorganized and refunded and replaced just how you want. And that's really great. They have added 6 new ring base types that can be exclusively crafted from the Genesis tree. Yeah, so this is going to be like this is probably going to be the rings that like everyone is going to go for. Like there is going to be this like chase crafting here, I think. They've also added 4 new amulet base types. That's also exclusively crafted from the Genesis tree. And 4 new belt base types. Exclusively crafted from the Genesis tree. They've also added a set of caster and minion mods that can be crafted onto rings and belts using the Genesis tree. So just like regarding this right here, I wish that there were also an alternative for like non-caster and minion mods right here. I wish we had. So this might be expanded on in the future. Like I think that's what's gonna happen, right? The Genesis tree is probably gonna be expanded upon in the future. But the fact that it's like now being released with only the caster and minion mods that can be like deterministically crafted on rings and the belts, I'm a little bit disappointed. I've misread. Okay, what do you mean? They've added a set of caster and minion mods that can be crafted onto rings and belts. What do you mean that I've misread? I don't think I misread it. It's very specific. So on the left side of the tree, you're gonna have these like very specific caster and minion mods. Yeah, they have added it. They are not the entire. No. It's not the entire tree. The thing I'm kind of feeling is that they should have not only added the caster and the minion mods. They should also have added other type of mods. So obviously the tree is gonna be big, like with all like the rings, the jewelry stuff. That's also gonna be like a huge part of the tree. But it kind of feels a little bit weird that it's like only the caster and the minion mods that are also gonna be added. So why not more like melee, for example, melee orientated stuff? Like why is it only caster and minion? You know? Yeah. So the tree so how the tree? Okay. So do we have like a visual? Let me see. Do we have a visual of this? Okay, can we actually see this? I just want a picture of it. Okay, okay. So there. I think there is some. Okay, let's try PoE DB2. Okay, that's not the name of it. Yeah, okay, I'm not gonna waste any time on this right now. But the thing is that the tree is kind of like split into different areas, right? So mainly the right side of the tree, that's gonna have like the specific nodes that you can pick for deterministically deciding what types of rings, for example, you want to try to get, what types of um, other jewelry like amulets and belts. There's also going to be an area on the tree for like currency, which you can also customize with nodes. And then there is going to be like this area that's going to be specific caster and minion mods. So what I'm saying is that I don't quite understand why there is also not an area on the tree that's going to like cover other mods. Why it's only like why only caster and minion mods are getting its own area on the tree. Yeah, I think you should be able to do like the like I think you should be able to do other mods as well, not like caster and yeah. Yeah, we will have to see. We will have to see what this is going to be. Anyway, So this next one is actually quite a big change. The catalysts can no longer drop from monsters. They are now solely obtained from the Genesis tree. So the way we would get catalysts was by doing random drops, or by random drops, in the breach encounters in maps. But also we would get quite a nice chunk of them by doing zest, right? By putting the splinters into the portal and going to fight Zest, we kind of like had to do this little race against time from the start of the arena and to the boss itself. And we would like that would be a good way to get these catalysts. That's not longer happening. We are going to be getting these solely from the Genesis tree. They've also added a new set of 12 catalysts that can add new quality modifiers to jewels. Killing the monsters in Breach now drops Hive Blood and Womb Gifts and Breachstone Splinters. Yep. The Breachstone Splinters turn into a special Womb Gift when fully stacked. A full stack is 300, by the way, so 300, that's a full stack. This can be turned in at the Genesis tree to create a breach stone. So when new breach domains spawn, so new breach domains will now spawn on the Atlas, but we have to use a breach stone on it to reveal the maps inside, allowing you to enter them. So this is kind of cool. Like, I kind of like this. So the domains are not going to be like instantly accessible, right? So you are probably going to discover these domains, but you're not going to be able to enter them before you have gathered 300 splinters to then make a breach stone so you can enter, right? What I'm wondering about this though is like, is there going to be any changes to like the drop rates of the splinters? Because the way it is right now, it can take you a little bit of time to accumulate like 300 of them. So if you're super lucky, right, you can get these maps that contains multiple bridges, and that's gonna give you like, I don't know, like around like between maybe like 50 to like, I don't know. Yeah, like maybe around like 50 splinters. But usually it kind of depends, but like on the very top end of how many splinters you actually get from one encounter currently, it's like, I don't know, like 15 or something from like one encounter. I think that's the biggest like splinter drop I have actually ever gotten. And that's like on the high end of like how many you get from one breach encounter. So I wonder if like they've been changing this, like the drop rates. Because this could potentially be like this little pain point, right? If people are not able to get enough splinters and they kind of like have to buy them just to unlock these areas, or like if it's just gonna be kind of like, just in general, kind of like be a pain to get them, you know? Maps inside the breach domain contains new encounters. Breach hives, sky hives, and sky fortresses. So there's going to be 3 different new breach encounters. That's really cool. That's actually really cool. Breach hives have a series of walls that can be burned by walking through them. Each wall destroyed, though, will increase the number of monsters in the encounter, which can be started in the center. So basically, this kind of means that if you want, you can just like full clear the area and all the walls, but that's going to be one freaking heck of an encounter in the middle. So the middle encounter is going to be like a wave based defense, like almost like a tower defense type system. Sky Hives are a new area in which the Breach Lords have constructed fortresses that you will need to assail. Sky Hives contains a challenging multi-wave encounter in which you will need to... Oh, okay, sorry. No, actually, it's the Sky Hives. Okay, it's the Sky Hives that's actually like the wave one. So Sky Hives contain a challenging multi-wave encounter in which you'll need to defend Aelith while she closes the domain. Aelith will gain a series of abilities that can be triggered during the encounter with various effects. With focus on various effects. Because one thing that's really interesting here is that I think the situation is going to be that there are potentially going to be effects there that you don't want to click because it's going to make like everything harder and like potentially just wipe you. So I think this is going to be really interesting. So you can't. I think, or at least I hope, that's kind of like going to be the case, that you're going to have the potential to actually like hit basically like the quote wrong unquote one, right? And you are potentially going to make like the encounter a lot harder. So for the last new area, it's the fortresses. They are a new area with a new pair of bosses, Tool and Ash. Defeating Tool and Ash will give you a key to access the existing Breach Pinnacle boss. So basically, it's like really, it's really kind of like these stages that we have to do, right? So we have to do the normal Breach encounters in maps to get the splinters. We need to get 300 of those splinters, and just like the normal encounters are also being, obviously upgraded, because you're getting like like what you're trying to do is you're trying to stabilize the breach. So you're getting like a second encounter almost inside of the first encounter that you started. So you will be trying to do this to get as many womb gifts and as many splinters as you possibly can. Then you will take those splinters and create the breach stones, which is then gonna open up like the next, basically, I guess like 4 steps, right? Because it's gonna be the hives, the sky hives, the fortresses, and the boss itself. So it's basically like at least like 5 stages. There's like 5 different steps you need to go through to kind of yeah. So maybe you don't actually... Okay, so breach hives and sky hives. Maybe you don't have to do breach hives to do sky hives. I'm not sure, but it kind of seems like it's gonna be this like 5-step thing to actually fight the pinnacle boss of that mechanic, and I think that's really cool. Okay, my dudes, moving on to Ritual, we still have much more to read here. So we're getting a new storyline to Ritual. Eof lingers as a restless spirit bound to the wildwood and searching for one who might answer her call. The king in the mist has claimed her flesh, leaving her soul adrift, untethered and unable to pass beyond. She believes that only by reclaiming what was taken can she be made whole once more. There's going to be a new hub area, Cair Tart, I guess, to the west of your starting location on the Atlas. The maps around this location all contains ritual encounters. Completing these maps gives you points for the Ritual Atlas tree. The Ritual Atlas passive tree has been completely revamped with many new nodes, and the existing nodes changed. After completing a ritual encounter in a map, locusts will point the way to the next altar. All items in the endgame ritual reward screen are now either uniques or omens. So this is a big change. So up until this point, it has felt like a bunch of these like ritual rewards has been like fillers, basically. Like they haven't felt like super nice. So just knowing that this is going to be a way to kind of like try to hunt down specific uniques or specific omens is really cool. It's like a deterministic mechanic that you want to do for like hunting the uniques and the omens. It's really cool. Any tribute not spent on rewards can now be sacrificed to gain an audience with the king. This is also really cool. Because there was like the current way, like a bunch of times it's like we're earning a lot of the tribute, but like we're not spending it because it's just not worth it to spend it. Now we can take the access tribute and actually put it into the progress bar to gain an audience with the king. Killing the king in the mists now drops a new key. The head of the king. So killing the king in the mist is only going to be the start, my dudes. This key can be used in Cairtart to begin the Rite of the Nameless. The Rite of the Nameless is a new Atlas mechanic in which you choose a series of 5 maps to complete a single continuous ritual. The monsters from each ritual, including the map boss, will reappear in each map of the sequence, making for a very challenging encounter. The new unique bosses from each map will only appear in the final ritual of each map. While choosing maps for the Rite of the Nameless, each map after the first will contain extra modifiers, which affect the difficulty and rewards of the rituals during the rite. And each map in the Rite of the Nameless awards 1 element of the key used to access the ritual pinnacle boss. So I guess we're gonna need... So are we gonna need 5 different elements to access the boss? They've also added a new boss. The Queen in the Mist is available after allocating a specific node on the Atlas tree. This boss can now drop 3 new corrupted idols. So these are probably going to be chase items, right? I wonder what these new corrupted idols are actually going to do. Wraithorn rituals are now prevented from ever showing deferred items, to ensure items are not lost if returning to this area on a higher level character. Okay. Okay, so that was not like as... So Ritual... I mean, Ritual R is getting like a lot of changes, but it's like the coverage of it in the patch notes is not as like extensive as like the Delirium or the Breach. It's still cool. I think it's still gonna be cool. It's gonna be really refreshing to get updates to Ritual as well, and it's gonna be really cool. Like the info we are getting in the notes here are actually really good, or it is really good. So over to some information on Fate of the Vaal. Moving to core. So this is the current league mechanic. This is the current league mechanic that we are already in. It's going to end, like I've said, I think at least 5 times already in this session. So the Fate of the Vaal League is going to end in like 3 days. So I'm pretty sure it's the 25th, because there's going to be like a 4-day gap between the end of the current league and the start of the new one. So Fate of the Vaal is actually moving to core. So it hasn't necessarily been the case with every new league mechanic that they've added. It hasn't necessarily always been the case that this mechanic is going core. So what going core means is that it's basically gonna be present. This mechanic is gonna be present in the game from this point onwards, right? So Fate of the Vaal has been added to the core game. You first encounter a series of 6 ancient beacons in Act 3. Energize them to obtain energized crystals and open a portal to the Vaal ruins. You will encounter a second set of 6 ancient beacons in the interludes. There is now an Atlas passive tree for the Fate of the Vaal League mechanic. At Sirius Temple can now be found on the atlas to the northeast of your starting location in the city of Lyra Vaal. Maps inside the city of Lyra Vaal always have energized crystals and grants points for the Fate of the Vaal Atlas passive tree. Okay, does that mean that we are not going to be able to get the crystals anywhere else but inside the Lyra Vaal city? Is that what it means? So we are not going to be encountering this mechanic in, like, is this mechanic not going to be added? Like, is the ruins where we get, like, the encounters where we get the crystals, is this never gonna happen as like a randomized mod in just like a regular map? Like a randomized encounter? Question mark? There are also new temple precursor tablets that will guarantee Vaal beacons in your map, if you want to focus on this league. Okay, yeah. So it's no longer going to be possible to prevent a room being deleted from the temple. Rooms that must be deleted but have other connections will be turned into simple path rooms. And this prevents the snake strategy. Kaboom! Nerfed. Oh. Yeah. So basically what this means is like, so when you're finished running a temple, right? In the current mechanic, you would be forced to close the temple, which was gonna like destroy a certain amount of the rooms that you've built in the temple. There used to be strategies where you could actually prevent like certain, like by doing the snake strategy, you could like prevent the rooms that you absolutely did not want to be destroyed. You could prevent them from being destroyed. So that's no longer gonna be possible. What's gonna happen though? The big difference here is that it's not gonna remove any of the rooms. It's only gonna turn the rooms into simple like pathing tiles instead of like a room itself. Rooms can now be upgraded. Sorry, hold on. The number of rooms in the temple when first starting has increased to allow getting to Atsiri more quickly. Oh, okay. Excuse me. Yeah, so this means like just the initial starting point when you are encountering the temple for the first time there's gonna be more rooms already placed, I guess. I guess that's what it means. There's gonna be more rooms already in the temple, so it's gonna be quicker, basically, to get to that Syria, like it's stated here. Rooms can now be upgraded to tier 4 after unlocking this ability on the temple Atlas tree. This allows even more specialization into particular room types, and it encourages more interesting temple layouts. Interesting. So I really think this is interesting. So like, just reading this, like, I remember reading this also in some other at some other occasion. I can't remember exactly when, but like, reading this, that the rooms can be upgraded to tier 4, like allowing for more specialization into specific rooms, really made me think. So it's really cool that there are a bunch of different kind of strategies that you can do inside the temple to go for like very specific things, because the temple contains quite a lot of interesting things. Like, obviously you have like the Assyria encounter itself, but then you also have like these specific room types that can give you kind of cool items for crafting, or it can give you more like specified unique items, or it can give you the option to kind of like remove a socket, stuff like that. Remove and augment, I mean. So you can kind of set it up to be multiple, or you can set up the temple to do multiple things for you. It might even actually be cool to actually have different setups of the temple that you could actually swap between. That would be kind of cool. So you could create like, you could have one temple that you kind of like set up for like currency. You can have one temple that you kind of like set up for just going for Atsiri, and then you can kind of like choose between, or choose between different kind of layouts. I think that would be kind of cool. But I guess for now we're just gonna have to manage with the one, I guess. Reward rooms granted from the console after defeating the architect have been significantly improved, with more varieties to unlock, in addition to upgrading the rewards of all the existing ones. That's really cool. Yeah, so there are some pretty cool rooms that we get to unlock after, like, if we're interacting with the console in the architect room after defeating him. There are some pretty cool rooms that we can add. And it's cool that they are actually buffing this. I like this. That's a thumbs up from me. Restricted, sorry, let me see. Yeah, restricted rooms in that series temple that are accessible will always destabilize upon exiting the temple. Okay. Atsiri's temple medallions now have their drop rates scaled with the number of paths in the temple, in addition to other rooms, previously only other rooms. Oh, okay, interesting. Room-based medallions can no longer be used inside of an active temple, and room-based medallions now display upgrade information when hovered. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Actually, you know what? Yeah, I almost skipped this, because that's like the biggest difference between like the just like the regular rooms on the left side of the screen that you can allocate at the start of a new run. So the biggest difference between like the ones on the left that you kind of like, that are totally random, and the ones on the right that are kind of like a little bit more deterministic, because those are like the medallion rooms that you get inside the temple, and you can kind of like decide to pick them up or not. Like the biggest difference between those two, like the randomized ones and the more deterministic ones, the biggest difference there was that you could actually see. So like if you grab one room from the random side and kind of like see where you can place it inside the temple, it would actually show you in the top right corner of your screen. It will actually show you like what it's actually gonna do, how it's gonna affect the current temple. Because there are effects that's like potentially gonna, or there are effects that's gonna like add effects to the entirety of your temple. So what would be a little bit frustrating was like the deterministic ones on the right side, they would not display, you know, what effects it's actually gonna add when you put them in the different available slots. So I think this is cool. Like I almost just like skipped past this super fast. So medallions now output descriptive error messages when they cannot be placed. Okay? The default maximum number of energized crystals you can store has been increased to 60, and the maximum number of medallions has been increased to 6. The medallions that increase the number of stored energized crystals or medallions are no longer necessary. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's huge. The monster level of the temple now factors in the level of the areas where the crystals used to be open were attained. What? Okay. Okay, so that's a change. Okay, so that is actually a change right there. Because it used to be that the temple, like, you always knew, or you always, like, in the current version, you always know that going to the temple, it's gonna be, like, scaled to your level, and if you push, like, higher than that level, it's just gonna be, like, the max level of 81, I think. But now, the monster level of the temple now factors in the level of the areas where the crystals used to open it were obtained. So that means that you basically, there's not going to be like a viable strategy basically to kind of like farm lower leveled areas or lower tier areas to get like faster access or to be able to like run the temple more often. Okay, that's interesting. If like if I'm understanding it correctly, so that means that let's say you are farming for the crystals in like tier 1 maps, but you are actually able to do like much higher tiers, but you just want to get the crystals, so you're just like farming for them in tier 1 maps. That means like the temple is going to scale to that level. So like if you're farming tier 1s, that's going to be like monster level 65, right? So that's going to be like a level 65 temple, if I understand it correctly. So if you want to do it like on the hardest, yeah, or like on the most juiced version, you kind of like have to do the tier 15s, I guess, or even the 16s, you know, to get 81. Hmm. I interesting. Like if I understand it correctly, like that's now gonna be the case. So that's actually quite the change. Actually, quite the change. The Corruption Chamber temple bonuses have been updated to add monster modifier chance instead of additional monster modifiers. Okay. portals created in the Temple of Atzirian now create a corresponding portal in the parent Vaal ruins for ease of access. Vaal beacons now show a grayed out icon on the minimap when completed. Oh, okay, yeah, that's nice. Yeah, that's actually nice. Because the way it shows up now is that it is this like orange, kind of like pyramid or triangle. And even though you complete it, it's like it still shows up on your minimap. So that can be a little bit confusing. So this is a good change. There are now 4 types of infusers. Existing Vaal infusers are now Vaal Armorer's infusers, which can be applied to armor. Vaal Blacksmith's infusers that can be applied to martial weapons. While Vaal Arcanist infusers can be applied to wands, staves, and scepters. Okay. But that's only 3 of them, right? It's the armor ones, it's the blacksmith ones, it's the arcanist ones, but like what's the... Oh yeah, okay, so the Vaal Catalyst infusers can be applied to jewelry. Okay, so that's the last one, I guess. The Catalyst infuser, okay. All infusers can now only be used on items at or above 20% quality. Okay, interesting. Interesting. That's really interesting because that means like this is something that we so like when an item is at level 20 plus quality, like that's when we want to basically add these things. So it's kind of like adding something that's gonna be like after the that's gonna add something that's gonna be like after the like you reach max quality on an item. I think that's really cool, actually. That's really cool. So because it kind of like deterministically, um, it kind of deterministically kind of like lets us or gives us kind of like a direction of like where to go next, you know, which I think is really really great. Okay. Just give me a second, guys. Just gonna have to fix something here. Just give me a second. Just give me a second. W stream, bro. I love your W stream emotes. They make me feel good. They make me feel good. Dun, 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 dun. And it makes me feel good. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Yeah. Okay. Keep at the great content, bro. I'm working on it. Okay, let's go. Yeah, so we were talking about the like the 4 types of infusers. And I think this is really good. Really good and really interesting, to be honest. So like it gives us more of like a deterministic reason, you know, to kind of go for these specific items. And basically we kind of also know that this is something that we want to be going for when we have like that 20% quality, or at least like that's how it feels. So the Fate of the Vaal currency items now have a maximum stack size of 5,000 when stored in the wildcard slots in the currency stash tabs. Yeah. Yeah, I kind of wished that they had like their own slots, to be honest. Because those like wildcard slots in the currency stash tab, I mean, they can potentially really get filled up quick. Because we don't have, like, there is a lot of um existing like currency items and stuff that also already does not like fit in or doesn't have its own stash tab currently. For example, like a bunch of the Abyss stuff. So those wildcard slots, bro, they're gonna fill up real quick, you know? Some of the possible outcomes from applying Vaal cultivation orbs to unique items have been updated. Okay. The Atsiris rule unique staff can now roll 10 to 20% increased life cost efficiency. Previously 20 to 40. Boom, that's a freaking nerf right there. The Atsiris Splendor unique body armor can now roll plus 66 to 100 to maximum energy shield. Previously 100 to 200. Boom, that's another nerf, my dudes. Isn't it? Yes, it is, right? The Covenant unique body armor can now roll 10 to 25% increased life efficiency. Previously 25 to 50. Bro, that's nerf. That's nerfs, bro. Did you miss the class buffs and nerfs? No, absolutely not. Like, we've only been through the like we are working through the changes to the different mechanics. We haven't gotten to the class and stuff like that. The Hate Forge unique gloves can now roll plus 16 to 30 maximum rage if you used a skill that requires glory in the past 20 seconds. It was previously max plus 8 to 12. Okay, so this is a buff, right? The Wrath Pit Globe unique focus can now roll 8 to 15% increased life cost efficiency, previously 12 to 20, so that's a nerf. Bro, a lot of these items getting nerfed, bro. A lot of like the also like the current like the temple, the uniques tied to the temple being nerfed here. I mean, usually like that's what happens, right? Usually that's what happens. So they are kind of like a little bit OP, right? The new stuff is a little bit OP, and then it's gonna be pulled down a little bit. Like that's how it usually goes when it's like added to core. The shackles of the wretched unique gloves can no longer roll elemental ailments other than freeze you inflict at reflected to you. Instead, now being able to roll 10 to 15% increased damage per curse on you. Okay, so this is basically like a change. Quite a change to how it works. The Vertex unique helmet can no longer roll plus 2 to 4 level of all skill gems. Instead, you're now going to be able to roll 3 plus 3 to 5 to level of all curse skill gems. Okay, so this is going to be more of like a curse specific one, right? So it is kind of like a huge nerf to like the all skills, but it's a buff to the curse skills. Okay. Yeah, so those were the changes to the temple. So temple is going core. I think that's good. Like I really like, you know, I really started to enjoy temple more. So like I'm enjoying Temple way more now than I was at the beginning of the league. So yeah, I think it's a good thing that it's going core. It's gonna be interesting to just like dive in and actually see. Bro, how small are these how small are the changes to the Abyss and the Expedition? I mean, Abyss, like, it's kind of obvious, like, there's not gonna be, like, a huge list here, because like, the Abyss is already so, like, fleshed out, you know? But there are some changes. There are now large abyssal cracks on the Atlas. Completing Atlas abysses will close them and always give you an abyssal depth with a boss fight. What? When? So is that like at the end of a crack? Or is it in every single map? So what does completing Atlas abysses mean? Is it the so like when you so like when you totally complete the crack, you will get the depth and the boss? Or are you gonna get a depth and a boss in every single map that's like affected? I guess it's gonna be the first one, right? So you have to kind of like do you have to close the crack. I mean, shut that crack up, you know, and then like surely that's how it has to be, right? Yeah, you assume when you close the crack on the map. Yeah, I think that's gonna be the thing, right? Yeah. The Abyss Atlas tree has been revamped with many new nodes and changes to existing nodes. Yeah, so that's just we're not gonna get any more info than that, I guess. It's just like the tree has been revamped, you know? Kulimak's invitation is now always allocated to the map owner. Yeah. Yeah, because there was some like shenanigans here earlier, I think, with this specific thing. So that means that if you're running these maps, right? Or if you're running these groups of people, like it's only gonna be the person that owns the map that's actually gonna get the invitation. Abyssal omens or abyss omens no longer drop in areas below level 65. Okay, so starting at maps, basically. So you won't have a chance to get them before you get to maps, basically. Modifiers to the numbers of chests found now apply to chests found in Abyss as well. Yeah, that's good, because the chests in Abyss, they can be really good. They can be really good, especially in the depths. These also apply to the chance to find an abyssal depth, so the chance to find abyssal depths does not decrease with more chests in the area. Okay, nice. Adjusted the damage of the Meteoric Demise Abyss Monster modifier. Okay. And the Lithomantic runes from the Lithomantic runes Abyss Monster modifiers are now active after a longer delay. Okay. And that's basically the changes. Like the fact that we're gonna like see the cracks on the Atlas, I think is really cool. And it also gives you like this indicator of like how close you are to a depth. Like how close you are to like a guaranteed depth with a boss fight. It's kind of cool. Okay, moving on to Expedition here. So Expedition League has been temporarily disabled on standard leagues due to the integration with the Runes of Aldor. This will be reintegrated into standard after the Runes of Aldor is over. Yeah, so the Runes of Aldor League, it's gonna go core. So basically, like, we already know that this is gonna go core, right? Because the Runes of Aldor is kind of like the Expedition rework. But since we are not getting all that rework in standard, they are disabling it for standard until this current league is over. The Recombinator has been disabled. The Omen of Recombination has been removed. Existing omens of recombination will be deleted upon logging in. What? Is this the death of the recombinator? I mean, the recombinator has been disabled. So I guess it means like it's coming back at some point, right? Bro, I have not been like, I've not been like doing a lot of recombination. I'm just gonna say, so it's not gonna be a huge loss for me, but it's interesting that it's just like it's disabled. Huh. You don't know what that is? So the recombinator is this mechanic that you get from encounter or from doing doing the expedition quests, basically. So it's this kind of crafting mechanic that allows you to take two basically like similar items. So let's say that you have two helmets and you have some really nice modifiers on one and some bad ones on that one, and you have some other nice ones on the other one that you really want on like the first one. You can kind of like pick and choose. So you can kind of like pick, okay, I want this modifier to be kind of like guaranteed from this item, and I want this other um, modifier from this other item to be kind of like guaranteed, and you kind of like slam them together, and you have an item with like the modifiers that you actually want. But there is not like 100% chance of you getting this. But it's like a way to kind of like put two similar items that you have like some modifiers on one that you want, you have some modifiers on the other that you want, so you're kind of like trying to slam it together to get rid of those modifiers that you don't want, basically. Yeah, you never did Expedition, you think it was super boring. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I have a bunch of these logbooks just sitting in my stash at the moment, but like, it's really, really getting changed. So we can look at it like this, like the Runes of Aldor, uh, New League, sorry, is kind of like the Expedition rework, basically. So what they are basically doing is that they are disabling and they are kind of like trying to, which is kind of interesting when we think about what the recombinator is actually doing. That's kind of funny, actually. They are kind of like trying to, like, they're taking what's working and actually running with it and like removing what's not working, and they're combining it with something new. Yeah. Yeah, this will be a league where we will be dabbling in everything, Alex, 100%. Bellman build, tornado spam, and tattoo monk. Here we come, bro. That sounds like quite the crew right there, bro. Bro, yeah, there's so many things. There's so many things. So what I think is like kind of like a little bit frustrating to me right now is that there are so many cool things that are being added to the end game, but there are also so many new cool things that's like really incentivizing me to try different things at the same time, kind of. So, bro, this is gonna be a long league. I feel like it's gonna be a long league. There's gonna be so many things to discover, so many things to explore. It just made you giggle how they crazy buffed the bells after we laughed about the Bellman build. Yeah, yeah, true. But there are so many things, bro. Like, there are so many cool things. So many cool things. So it kind of like makes me think like I really think that this is gonna be the league. This is gonna be the patch where it's gonna be the patch of freaking trying everything. You know, that's kind of like that's the patch. That's the nickname of this patch. It's like the league where we are gonna try freaking everything because there are so many new cool things to try. I mean, it's not even a point to like try to like even try to list the things. I feel like I think at some point I'm gonna have to make myself a list just to kind of um have like a goal and a direction to move in because there's so many things I want to try. I want to try the 2 new ascendancies. 100% I want to try those. Um I kind of like want to be also like part of the like end game um economic scene, but at the same time it's like I don't know if that's necessarily going to be like the way to go because we are still in early access. There is still so much more to come, kind of. So I think it's kind of maybe kind of smart to kind of look at the zero point 0.5 league as like this is gonna be this is really gonna be like the getting to know as much as possible before like 1.0, if you get what I mean. That kind of like feels like the way to go. So many things, bro. There's so many things. Just like all the new Kalguran skills and like all the revamps to the end game, like the fortress, the new end game quests. I mean, all the points on the Atlas. I mean, it's like the new pinnacles, like the new ascendancies. It's like overload, basically. Okay, so we're moving on to the other end game changes. With the introduction of the new endgame storyline, the Atlas has been reset. Your existing tablets and waystones will continue to work, so you can continue your progression as normal. But in order to gain points for the Atlas tree, you will need to do the Origins of Divinity storyline. They've added support for searching to the endgame Atlas map. Bro, that's huge. That's huge. Like searching for certain things on your map, that's on your Atlas, big win. You can now zoom out slightly further on the Atlas screen. Win. There are now 2 versions of each pinnacle boss. The quest version and the infinite farm version. And as such, primary, secondary, and tertiary calamity fragments can no longer be obtained. Okay, this is cool. Yeah, this is cool. It's cool that they got rid of like the 3 different versions, you know? And we now only have 2, right? That's good. I think that's good. So like Uber and normal, yeah, basically. Basically. And that's going to be the same for like all the pinnacles. So you're going to have like the normal version of Zesht, you're going to have the infinite farm version, or yeah, so they're not calling it Uber. They're just calling it the infinite farm. But I would assume that the infinite farm one is gonna be harder, right? Yeah, so the one you wipe to, and the one you're actually able to kill yourself. Yeah, basically. Yeah, but it's like it's really cool. Like I really like how the so like how Ash and also at Siri has kind of like made us so like some people are arguing that as at Siri was like, I mean obviously at Siri was like way easier than the Arbiter. Um but like having those thresholds that you kind of like need to get to like huge DPS and defense checks. I mean, obviously there are like one shots mechanics and stuff that you need to be careful about as well. But yeah, I liked. Yeah, I've enjoyed how that has been. Like there should be like or at least I think like you should be in a situation where you think like, yeah, I'm strong enough to go fight Sashed, right? And then you're just completely destroyed, and you realize, okay, I'm not ready. I need to get stronger, right? So I like how those are like they are really like um these like very specific goals that we go for. I think that's really good. Uber Arbiter is no joke, bro. I've not done the Uber one. I've only done the normal one. Yeah. I'm gonna just take a super quick break, my dudes. I'm gonna run to the toilet and I'm gonna refill my party juice. I will be right back. Okay. Yeah, the Uber Arbiter is a build test, bro. Yeah. Or it's like the roughest thing that you can, try to test your metal against. And I think encounters like that are kind of important, actually. I mean, like obviously it's important to kind of like have like a distinction between like or have like a little, how can I put it? I mean, it's important to note that those like super difficult hard encounters, though they are intended to be super hard and difficult. It's like a freaking flex if you're able to do them, right? If you die to it, it turns normal. The Uber Arbiter. Really? Does it? Yeah, so you're gonna have to, yeah, it's a setback, basically. Okay, so where were we? Yeah, so tablets of the same type may now be used together to increase the amount of the league content that is spawned. Bro. This, my dudes, this is huge. So the specifics of this are a little bit different for each content type. In some cases, adding multiple tablets will increase the size of a single encounter, while in other cases, it will increase the number of encounters spawned. Yeah. This is great. Like, this is really, really great, I think. Like, in my opinion, this is huge. So this has been annoying me for the longest of times, because if you really, if you really want to specialize in something, if you really want to go for a specific mechanic, it's kind of annoyed me that you up until this point haven't been able to, just like do a freaking 6-tier modded map with like three of the same mechanic in it and actually make that mechanic a lot juicier. This is really cool. Very cool. I really, really like this. So each empty tablet slot now also contributes to the amount of random non-tablet spawned league content in the area. This means that if all tablet slots are full, you will only see the league content from the tablets you're using. The intent of this change is to make sure that you do not need to complete the atlas trees for leagues you do not intend to run. Okay. Okay, so that's the reason for that, I guess. Like, I kind of like to do everything. Basically, like, some things I've been avoiding, like the plague, because just like the mechanic has been bad. Not because I don't want to do that specific mechanic, but because the mechanic is bad, you know? Or it has been in a bad state. Okay, so waystones must now be identified in order to activate them in the map device. Okay, so they are all gonna come unidentified? Is that what this means? You can now use Orb of Chance on tablet. Okay. Interesting. Some items and content now require you to specialize in them through the Atlas passive skill tree, including exceptional items, fracturing orbs, basic, and overseer precursor tablets. Okay, hold on. Some items and content now require you to specialize in them. Okay. Okay, that's interesting. So to be able to actually get exceptional items, fracturing orbs, basic and overseer precursor tablets, you have to put points into the map, into the yeah, the atlas skills. Really? I wonder if you can also like juice the chances of like really getting more of them though as well. Hmm. Tablets can no longer be used on maps that cannot have extra content, such as unique maps. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so these are going to be like unique, like maps that are kind of like already spawned unique on the atlas, basically. League-specific tablets no longer drop from non-map areas, such as Simulacrum, Abyssal Depths, or the Twisted Domain. Oh, okay, okay. They have lowered the base chances for essences, Asmeri spirits, shrines, strongboxes, summoning circles, and rogue exiles, appearing in maps somewhat due to the much larger increase now available on the Atlas tree. Okay, yeah, so you can really, like... Okay, yeah, so that's kind of good. But it is, and you know, why I kind of like agree with this decision is because it's kind of annoying in a lot of cases. It's kind of annoying, like running a map that makes you have this like FOMO almost. So that's kind of like that's has kind of like been the case, you know, up until this point. That you are running these maps and you feel like you're kind of skipping things, you know? And that's kind of like a bad feeling. Like you feel that, yeah, I'm only here for a certain special thing, but so I'm running past like all the strong boxes, I'm running past a lot of the essences, I'm running past a bunch of these and so and such, you know? Because it's just too much, right? So then it's way better if this is something that you can actually like really specialize in like just adding those nodes to the tree, right? So like the chances for maps to have strong boxes, the chances for maps to have like spirits. So like the shrines, I feel like the shrines I really want to have there, you know. But if I don't want to have like the rogue exiles or the summoning circles or all the strong boxes, we can kind of like choose not to have them litter our maps, basically, which is really cool. I think that's really cool. So I think that's how it's going to work. Atlas passives that reference maps with powerful map bosses now work with Overseer precursor tablets and other sources of powerful map bosses. Okay, does that mean that you can make... Can you do like a double powerful thing? Hmm. So they adjusted the values of general precursor tablet modifiers to be similar to the same type of bonuses granted by Waystone modifiers, also reduced the roll variance of these modifiers. The following modifiers can no longer roll on Waystones: Barons, Beastly, Bramble, Dorianis, Enervating, Faridons, Hallowed, Of Nemesis, Perennials, Rusted, and Sacrificial. Okay, so what, bro, I need to investigate. What are these modifiers? Okay, do we have a list of them? Waystone mods, okay. Okay, don't they have a name? Oh, that's annoying. If we can't actually specifically search for the names. Names. Okay, so waystone modifier names. Let's try to search for that. Waystone guide. Yeah, this is the one. Okay, so we can't necessarily see like what the different what the different names are actually adding to it. Okay, that's okay, that's a shame. So I guess I can't find like any information on like so what is the like the so for example like the barons what is this, or like the beastly, like what is it specifically like adding? I wish I could actually look closer into this. But anyway, let's move on. Whether a map modifier is a suffix or a prefix has been adjusted so that generally prefixes are modifiers that affect a monster output towards the player, and suffixes are modifiers that affect the player or monster defenses. Okay. So they've changed. Okay, so they've done some changes to like what is suffixes and what is prefixes. Okay, this is interesting. So the following suffix modifiers are now prefixes: of destruction, of fleeting, of impact, penetrating, puncturing, shattering, splitting, and venom. And also, it's the other way around here. Prefix modifiers are now suffixes: buffering, enduring, enfeebling, eroding, evasive, flaming, hexwarded, shocking, sleet, and slowing. Okay. Yes, I don't honestly like I don't know the I don't know like what these necessarily mean, you know, like I can't like at the top of my head like see this like buffering and know exactly what type of mods that's going to be adding. That's kind of like why I was looking for some type of overview of that, but yeah. The of overpowering waystone modifier no longer causes monsters to have increased freeze buildup, shock chance, or inflict increased flammability magnitude. It now causes monsters to have increased elemental ailment application. Okay. Waystone modifier bonuses have been updated. They now provide more monster effectiveness, pack size, item rarity, monster rarity, or waystone drop chance, depending on the modifier. These modifiers are multiplicative with other sources, such as those found on the Atlas passive tree. Okay. Modifiers to pack size now also provide a chance for an additional rare monster to appear in rare monster packs. Monster rarity is a new stat available that affects the chances of magic and rare monsters, and the chance for additional modifiers on rare monsters. Map modifiers that include sources of increased numbers of rare monsters or increased numbers of magic monsters have been updated to only display the number at the header of the map and not also be displayed amongst the explicit modifiers. Okay, this is not a functional change. Also, they've halved the bonus to quantity of item dropped and experience gained provided by increased monster effectiveness, such as from Atsiri's Temple. Oh, okay. Okay. The functionality of the Omen of Chaotic Rarity, Omen of Chaotic Quantity, and Omen of Chaotic Monsters have been inverted. Instead of guaranteeing the new modifiers are of their type, they instead prevent the modifiers from being of their type. Okay. Added the new Omen of Chaotic Effectiveness. While this item is active in your inventory, your next Chaos Orb will replace all modifiers on a Waystone with modifiers that do not grant monster effectiveness. Oh, okay, so this is kind of interesting. This is kind of interesting. Hey Links, what's up, my dudes? Yeah, I'm covering the notes, absolutely. So we are deep into this already. Yeah. Okay, so yes, I think this new added omen of chaotic effectiveness is kind of interesting. Um, it is very interesting. Um, because like one of the issues that I feel like at least I've been having is like with certain of these modifiers, especially when you are like on the higher tiers of maps, right? Or the higher tiers of waystones. Um, certain of the modifiers are just so extremely bad. And I think they are tied to the monster effectiveness. So like the more nastiness that the monsters are doing to you, that's basically what's increasing their effectiveness, right? Or like the increased effectiveness are those super nasty modifiers that you don't actually want, especially in like the higher tiers. Another addition here, up to 3 of the omens above may be used simultaneously. What? So you can actually use the chaotic ones. You can actually use 3 of them at the same time, bro. That's crazy. Yeah, you've been home all day, Lynx, watching anime. Yeah, I mean, we need some rest sometime as well, right? But this is really interesting. So it means like you can have like the chaotic rarity, like the chaotic quantity, and also like the chaotic effectiveness. Like you can have all of them. I mean, that's gonna be quite expensive though, right? That's gonna be quite expensive. Like what's that gonna cost? So obviously, like with the changes to ritual, hopefully these are gonna be more like plentiful, like we're gonna have more of them. But imagine like playing trade, and actually like buying these omens, bro. Yeah. So I think we're gonna have to try to like farm them ourselves. Like this really incentivizes us to do ritual though. Yeah. Hmm. That's very interesting. But I wonder why it's only like the chaotic ones that we can like use more than one of at a time. Like I guess it would be like super cracked if we were able to do that on like a lot of the like of the other omens. So it is kind of cool that it's like a theme to it. So there is like 4 different chaotic omens, right? Or how many chaotic omens are there in total? Yeah. Okay, so it seems like yeah, so at least it's 4. Like I can't remember at the top of my head if like there's any more, but there's so much to cover here. I can't go into super details. Like that's it's just gonna take me like 2 weeks to do the freaking notes here. Yeah, but in the end, will the pros outweigh the cons? Yeah, I mean it's I think it's kind of rough at the very top end now, to be honest. Like, so I've been trying for the longest to get my character from like 96 to 97. And it's so painful. Not like having kind of like, so what I'm hoping that this change, like being able to roll or being able to use like multiple of these omens, what I'm hoping that it's gonna do is kind of like adds almost like a deterministic aspect to like setting up a waystone exactly how you want it, like the mods you want on it, and like not the ones you don't want, right? So that's kind of like what I'm hoping that this system is gonna do. Seems like a lot of work though, but at the same time, when it's like themed like this, where it's like yeah, it's the chaotic omen waystone crafting, you know, when it's like presented in that kind of way, or if that's gonna be like an effective thing, it's cool. But still, like it's been so painful for me to kind of like progress from like way up in the 90s. Like I really wanted to try to push for 100, but it's like, yeah, I've spent way too much time like just trying to get from like you know, 96 to 97, and I feel like it's so freaking random almost, because at some point you are kind of like in a situation where there's not a lot you can do necessarily to kind of like change. I mean, you can chaos orb your waystones and try to like change the modifiers like that, but I mean, at some point, like, it really doesn't feel super good to spend all that currency on it, because you just feel like it's you're just spending way too much, like it's just way too expensive. You mean this game weighs heavily on RNG, which is good, but what will be the RNG? Rarity and item drops, yeah. Yeah, it doesn't bother you. Yeah. Yeah, I like it as well, but I just feel like it's a little bit too much work just on like the top end of maps, basically. But it's interesting that we are actually able to use 3 chaotic omens simultaneously. So moving on here, half the damage as extra buffs. Granted from the following shrines: Freezing Shrine, Gloom Shrine, Meteoric Shrine, and Tempest Shrine. Bro, they nerfed the shrines? Did they nerf the shrines, bro? Bro, that's a big thumbs down from me, if that's the case here. You think the reward needs to meet what you spend, and if the reward don't, then it will be wasteful. Yes, that's what I mean. So, but if the reward, so let's say I'm working my way up from level 96 to 97. I'm trying to go for 100. The reward, in my case, in that situation, is like not losing any XP, because it's gonna take me like, I'm gonna have to run like a lot of maps only to like move my XP bar like 2 or 3%, right? That's gonna take me hours. So if I just like encounter a map which is, or kind of, or I kind of like have to do like a map that's, it's not necessarily like, so it's not necessarily like the mods actually on the map. It's just like sometimes it feels like so RNG if you're actually gonna die in the map or not. And when you hit like a certain point, like when you hit a certain level, it's like it's almost baked into the RNG that you are gonna die at some point. You are not gonna be able to like progress your character from 96 to 97. I think like that's the issue, and I think I'm kind of like trying maybe to blame it on the waystones and the effect of the waystones. But I think it's more like almost feels like an RNG element to the fact that if you're pushing for like the really high levels, you basically cannot afford to be punished with that XP because it takes you so freaking long to just like move 1% on that freaking bar, you know? Okay. But I'm interested in this shrine one here. If they've halved the extra buff granted from the shrines, I feel like that could be a potential big no-no for me. Because I really like the shrines. I think we should have more of the shrines. I think we should have more variations to them. I think we really should have I really like the shrines. So if this is a nerf, like if I understand correctly, this is a big nerf to the freezing, gloom, meteoric, and tempest at least. Okay, so completion of fixed locations on the atlas is now shared with party members. Okay, that's interesting. With the addition of more varied content in the Atlas map, the size of content indicators has been increased by 50%. Okay, that's good. Yeah, I think that's cool. That's good. And Waystones have also received a new 2D art. Yeah, that's also nice. Okay, so we're moving on to the next point here, my dudes. The campaign replayability. So to improve how long it takes for experienced players to replay through the game in each new league, we have added elements to multiple campaign areas that will tell you where to go. If you know what to look for, you can see some examples. Okay, yeah, in this video. Yeah, we're not gonna see that video. Yeah, so this is like the quality of life or the things that they're actually gonna be adding, like the hints and the clues of where to go in like the earlier zones. Some areas throughout the game have been shortened. Are they not going to tell us which ones? Okay, so they're not going to tell us which ones has been shortened. Yeah, so on the topic of that XP discussion, Link says, you mean it? You mean you think XP wise they should level with you and give what is properly, or further you go, the more condensed with enemies, or give something proper like more mini bosses, yeah, like magic monsters, rare monsters, and that they should like in general give more XP. Yeah, maybe that's like the thing, right? Maybe that's actually the thing that the it's just like this the balancing of like how much XP you're actually getting at the very top end, you know. But that has to do with like the level scaling, right? Because so like the highest monster level, right? The highest monster level that we are able to do is like the 16th, right? Which is effectively like monster level 81. So that means if I'm 96, like I'm 15 levels above, so I'm really being punished. But there is no way for me to do like harder. Like there is no way for me to kind of like push up the XP, right? Apart from like really going for certain like tablets and stuff that has like the XP boost. But then again, we are kind of like back to the feeling of like that it's like a bit too much work almost. Or at least that's what I feel. That it's like it's a bit too much work just to kind of like mitigate the punishment for like being such a high level and not being able to run higher level zones, you know? And also, like I said, it's it's RNG based. What mobs spawn? Yeah, so all out of a freaking sudden, right? All out of a sudden, it feels like totally RNG. Like you're just like one shot, right? So you've been doing fine. You've been running through these maps, like feeling like, yeah, sure, like there is no problem for me to do this. But you have to do to run through so many maps at the top end to kind of like get the XB bar to even move like smidge, you know? And then like all that progression that you've been doing, like all those freaking 30 maps that you've been running just to get that 5 freaking percent on your XP bar. It's just like in a second, boom, it's gone. I mean, I know about the amelioration omens, and I know about all these like omens that we can have slotted, but still, it's still like way too like punishing XP wise on the top end. And if you can't get more magic and or higher tier bosses, you drop down on XP, and if there is more, it could mean disaster, and it's a pay. Yeah. It's just like the whole entire like feeling of that situation, and it doesn't occur like it's not that big of a problem until you are way up there in the levels, you know. So I've been trying so many different things. Like I've been changing my build in so many different ways. Like I've been trying to go like all defensive, and this shit still happens, right? Yeah, the shit still happens. So it has to be some type of I wouldn't call it like a bug, but it has to be something. So because if it doesn't matter, if it's the same thing, if I have like freaking 10k energy shield and like 2k life and also some evasion and some armor and like all my freaking passive nodes in my tree are like focused on defenses, if I'm still getting those like one shots no matter what I do, I change my gear, I change my attributes, like I try all the things that I can try, and this shit still happens, you know. So in PoE1 you went full ACC, what's that? Evasion, yeah. So in PoE1 you went full evasion on your build, uh, and your friend pure defensive, and you were completely screwed and couldn't progress, and you were around like level 80. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So there is some things. So that's one thing, like the fact that you can't just like stick to, the fact that you can't just like stick to one defensive type. So I think it's cool that you kind of like have to think a little bit like try stat. You have to think like try attributes. Like you have to do some evasion, some energy shield, some armor, or like that would be like the best thing to do. Um, but it's like one of the things that I have the biggest issue with in PoE1 as well is that exact same thing. Is that you feel like you know how to build defenses, you feel like you know how to do these things, but you're still getting like one shot. So I'm almost starting to think like the only way to go almost is to just like do the freaking defensive things, right? So on all the gear, just do defensive things. on all the passive nodes, only do the defensive things, only pick like the defensive ascendancy points, so on and so forth. But the problem with that is like we all want to have this feeling that we are powerful. We all want to have this feeling that we are like flying through the maps and just like, you know, steamrolling the game. So we really want to like spec into damage and do like the damaging thing. And it feels like our defenses, they work 99% of the time, but that 1% of the time, it's like it's just not working. It's almost like you're freaking naked or something. But in the end, you can't truly free build because there is meta builds across all. Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree, but I kind of feel like I've tried. So especially on the Invoker that I've been playing in 0.4, I feel like I've tried everything, you know. But if I'm still getting like the same thing, no matter what I try, there basically is no solution to the problem, you know, that type of feeling, and that's bad, right? Okay, we need to keep going here. Yeah, so some areas throughout the game. So we are still on the campaign replayability point here. So some areas throughout the game have been shortened. Yeah, I guess like maybe like the points after here, like I don't understand why they are like split into different points here. I think they should have been part of like the same point here to kind of understand a bit better. So they removed the second Dreadnought area, the Dreadnought Vanguard. The Act 2 boss is now in the Dreadnought. Yeah, okay, so this is halved, so you don't have to go through like two of those wagons. I guess you just have to go through one. So that's one of the areas that has been shortened. Area order in Act 3 has been somewhat rearranged in order to make progression smoother. The waterways levers have been turned into pressure pads that you simply need to walk over, and the final part of the level has the water pre-drained. Okay. Monster density in the second half of the campaign has been reduced, especially in the interludes, to allow getting through these areas more quickly. Yeah, like the interludes, that's like a big. So there are these like hiccup areas almost. So like Dreadnought was one of them, but you also have the area where you fight the Viper, like the Vaal areas where you fight the Viper. Those also were like these huge, like weird situations there, right? Where you kind of like that area is super rough, and then the area after is like not even close to as rough as that one, which kind of like makes it feel a bit weird. So it makes it feel it so that you should actually have done like the area after the current area before you are doing the current area. And I really think that we should be able to free build how we want. Like I think we should be able to. It's just like super restrictive. So just lowering that ceiling a little bit, I think that would be better. Because I think like a lot of also like the replayability in general in PoE 2 and PoE 1 for that matter is like all the changes that they are doing to the different things. But if you're not able to like experience all the changes because it's like taking you forever and a day, you know, to do things, because you have to figure out like so you're way too early kind of like introduced to this situation where you kind of like have to figure out the best way for your specific build to be like more effective or the most effective, like just getting through the campaign, for example. I think these are balance issues, but they are big pain points. Okay, so yeah, so the things they've done to the campaign, it's going to be interesting to kind of experience it. I think there are some good changes here. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to the player changes. So bleed damage on players is no longer increased while the player is moving. Okay. Bro, is bro, is this is this gonna be a thing in PoE1 as well? I hope. Your maximum runic ward is now added to your starting honor when beginning a trial of the Sakamas. Oh, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, so this is gonna like maybe like incentivize a little bit like running more trials, because I think Trial of Sakuma is kind of fun. Also, like Trial of Chaos, like it's been rough. And there are things that really should kind of like improve with the Trial of Chaos. I feel like the Trial of Chaos is so undercooked in a way. Like Sakamas is feels like so much better. I just feel like it's so much more fun mechanic, you know. But this is something that's going to be worked on and changed, I guess. So I would really like to do more trials. Like I think it's fun, and we are getting so many of these freaking keys to do the trials and stuff. Like I would like to do more of them, to be honest. It's just that they feel uh kind of feels like it's not worth it in a way. Like we need more incentives to do more of it, I think, or at least it needs to be communicated in a better way why we actually want to do them, you know? Not only to get the ascendancy points, but keep doing them, like as we are kind of dropping them. The defenses keyword is no longer in use. Existing uses of the word defenses now explicitly refers to armor, evasion, and energy shield. Okay. This is to make it more clear that these modifiers do not apply to runic ward, resistances, block, or other forms of protection. Okay, this is purely a description change. Okay. Only a single leech instance per resource, life, mana, or energy shield can apply at a time. When multiple leech instances are active, only the one with the highest recovery rate will recover you until it expires. Okay, so what does this mean? Yeah, so only the one with the highest recovery rate will recover you until it expires, after which the next highest recovery rate instance will apply. This is interesting. In theory, just like reading it instantly makes me think like, is this going to be bad? Or is it just a way to kind of like try to make us kind of like focus on one thing and not think like, yeah, I'm just gonna run around and leech all the time, freaking life, mana, and energy shield, and yeah. Maybe someone has actually been able to kind of abuse the leeching in some way, and that's kind of why it has turned into this right here. There is now a limit on the maximum amount of damage a hit can be considered to deal for leech. Hits that deal less than 40% total damage are unaffected, but if a hit would deal more than 40,000 total damage, it is treated as dealing only 40,000 damage for purposes of leech calculation. So like I know that like leech is one of the things that has been like a proper challenge for the devs to actually figure out how to do this effectively, like the leech situation. It's kind of funny to hear them like talk to each other and communicate with each other when it comes to this, like the leeching and how it works in the game. Uh, So the values of each damage type in the hit are scaled down evenly to reach this limit. This means that extremely high damage hit stop improving leech past a certain point. But increasing your leech percentage will always increase the amount of the resource you are gaining. Yeah. Yeah, so basically they're kind of like putting a ceiling on the leech effect itself. So yeah, I mean that might be a good thing. Like it's a complex thing. Moving on here, my dudes. The formula for chance to deflect has been adjusted to provide better scaling with investment into deflection rating. With a cap of 90% chance to deflect, similar to the chance for the chance to evade being capped at 95%. Okay. The new chance to deflect is a freaking math equation here, which I'm not going to go into. So it makes for a linear path anyway that gets rewarded at higher investments. Okay. Parry, shield block, and resonating shield no longer delay heavy stun buildup from decaying longer than expected. Okay. Melee attacks can now only apply splash damage once per damaging area. Some attacks create multiple damaging areas during use. For example, Whirling Assault creates multiple damaging areas around you as you move. Okay. So what I would kind of like almost compare this with is like the fact that like how explosive spear works. So if you throw out one explosive spear, you actually have to wait for that explosion to explode before there is any point in like throwing out another one, like for the explosion aspect of it. So you can't just like throw out 4 of them and they are all gonna like just detonate with like some split seconds between them. Like it's the one you're throwing out has to explode like before there's any point of getting like a second explosion from the second throw, basically. If that makes sense. Like I know that was like a little maybe a little like complex example right there, but I think it's kind of like the in the same vein as that. So when minions are removed due to resource changing, such as weapon swapping, younger or newer minions are now prioritized for removal over older minions to avoid wasting minion cooldown abilities unnecessarily. Also a cool change, interesting change. Like I've not played a lot of minions, but I feel like I kind of understand what they're going for here. So basically, it's kind of a change that's gonna allow you to basically just keep the uptime of the minions higher, I guess. Minions affected by Last Grasp support or Techrod's Revenge lineage support, and totems affected by the unnamed Heartwood Oracle notable passive skill tree. Bro, that was a long sentence. Can no longer die during the effect from taking further damage exceeding their maximum life. Yeah, so this is also like minion stuff that I don't know too much about. Stats worded as when you collect a remnant no longer give you the benefits of these stats when an ally shares the effects of a remnant with you. Okay. They've updated the name of the buff that Trinity grants to Affinity, as Resonance is the name of a keystone passive skill. This is purely a description update. Okay. Archon buffs are no longer inherently lost when you attack. This is now a property of Elemental Archon specifically. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's actually quite interesting. The Archon buff, I think, is quite interesting. I don't know too much about it, so I don't want to like have an like too big of opinion on this. I just know that like I really like the Archon buffs, but there was some type of issues with it, and I guess like this was probably it, right? That you lose the buff when you attack, so you're not going to be doing that anymore. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, so there are so many like new things added here. So new content and features. Introduced a new martial artist ascendancy class for the monk. Yeah, we know that. After decades of training, the martial artist has become a master of illusions. Empowered by the runes socketed into his body, this class creates powerful illusions, summons illusory bells to aid him, and excels at using his hands as weapons. Yeah, that's the new ascendancy for the monk. Introduced a new Spirit Walker ascendancy class for the Huntress. Bound to the Wilds, this class calls upon spirits to answer to her will, granting different abilities aligning with a stag, owl, or bear. Through their guidance, the Spirit Walker may subdue even the most formidable beasts, binding them in spirit or call forth a spectral companion to fight beside her. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I'm not going to go through all of these, but we are getting a bunch of new lineage supports and a bunch of new unique items. Bunch of them. Also, they've added 8 new idols that come exclusively from monsters possessed by Asmeri spirits. Okay. Yeah, that's good. I feel like the Asmerian spirits don't drop like enough cool things, just like in general. So hopefully this is gonna help a little bit with that. Added the new Minion Splash and Minion Splash 2 strength support gems. These support skills which create minions which strike, causing those minion strikes to have melee splash. The Fragment Stash tab is now available for use in Path of Exile 2. It can hold your fragments, including Breach Splinters, Simulacrums, Audience with the King, inscribed ultimatums, barriers, as well as tablets. If you previously purchased one in Path of Exile, it will automatically be made available to you once the 0.50 patch is deployed. For those without the Fragment Stash tab, you will be able to find this in the Stash tab section of the microtransaction store after 0.5 goes live. I think I have this tab. I'm pretty sure I have this tab in PoE already. PoE 1. They've also added support for build guides. Community creators who write build guides can now create .build files for players to download. When selected in the game client, this will show you everything you need to know for that build, including passive skills to allocate, which ascendancy passive skills to take, skill gems to equip, as well as recommendations for support gems. This is cool. I really like this. So I really hope that I'm going to be able to actually use this for my own builds. Like, I'm not the person that likes to follow other people's builds, but I really think like this is gonna be cool for me. Actually having my builds like as a dot build file, it's really cool. It can also kind of help me when I'm doing like let's say I'm working on like improving a certain build, like how a certain build kind of runs through the campaign, for example. It's going to be helpful for me to just like be able to load my own dot build file, you know. So I basically know what to do, and also I can also kind of like change it on the fly, hopefully, so keep it kind of like updated. So that's really cool. They've also added the ability to quickly search the trade market with an item you have. Shift Alt clicking on an item will populate the filters for searching the trade market so you can see the current prices. For rare items, you can enable and disable each modifier to easily determine the effect each one has on an item's price. Okay. Yeah, so I'm really excited to see, or like this one. I'm not sure how great it's gonna be. Like, I hope it's gonna be great, because if you're playing trade, like, you really, really want to kind of quickly be able to see what something is worth. Because I have a feeling like I've been just like trash vendoring stuff that could potentially like be worth a lot, just because I don't want to like take the time to like check every single item, you know. It just feels like too much work. So hopefully this is gonna be good. Uh, Hopefully it's gonna be really good. In party play, you can now quickly revive any fallen party members after defeating the boss. Okay. You can now skip dialogue sequences with NPCs by pressing escape. Nice. Added the reforging bench to the entrance of the Trial of the Sekomas. Okay. Continued to incrementally improve the sound, art, effects, and environments. What about balance? Okay, so we have some ascendancy changes. So, changes to the Acolyte of Chayula. The Into the Breach skill granted by the Waking Dream notable passive skill now grants Leech 20% of your maximum life to you when collecting a red flame of Chayula. It was previously 15. And Leech of your maximum mana to you when you collect the blue flame of Chayula, previously 50. Okay, so that's a buff. Chayula getting some buffs. Nice. The wording of the Into the Breach skill has now been updated to clarify behavior ranges related to Flames of Chayula. Okay. Into the Breach now applies modifiers to Remnant pickup range to the range at which Flames of Chayula can be seen. This is purely a visual change. Okay. So I really like the Chayula Ascendancy. I really like it for the darkness aspect of it, like the extra defensive layer. Okay, moving on to the Blood Mage. Not a lot being changed with the Blood Mage here. The Vitality Siphon notable passive skill now grants 20% of spell damage leeches life, previously 10. Buffed. Chayula buffed, Blood Mage buffed. Okay, so now we have the Chronomancer. So there are things being changed to the Chronomancer. Like, the Chronomancer is... I can't wrap my head around the Chronomancer, to be honest. But I mean, some of you watching might actually enjoy the Chronomancer, so I'm still gonna cover it. Okay, so the Rapid River notable passive skill has been removed. Its position has been taken by now and again. So I can't go in any type of depth on this because I really don't like. I have so little knowledge about the Chronomancer. The now and again notable passive skill has been reworked. It now grants cascadable spells, have a 20% chance to echo, and repeatable spells have a 20% chance to repeat. The Unbound Encore notable passive skill has taken the previous position of now and again, and the Ultimate Command notable passive skill now requires Unbound Encore. They've added the new Phased Form notable passive skill, Preceding Footprints in the Sand. Okay, Phased Form grants take 30% less damage, and 4 seconds after being damaged by an enemy hit, take damage equal to 30% of that hit's damage. Yeah, so this is like the delayed damage taken tech. The Temporal Rift skill granted by the Footprints in the Sand notable passive skill has been updated. It now has a cast time of 0.1 seconds, previously 0.5, and now also removes delayed damage from phased form. Inevitable Agony skill granted by the Inevitable notable passive skill has been reworked. It is no longer a curse and has a 2-second cooldown. Debuff is now a life loss effect instead of a secondary hit damage. And the debuff amount is now displayed on static health bars. The debuff also now instantly culls enemies when total life loss reaches culling strike threshold. It now grants debuff targets lose life equal to 25% of hit damage dealt to them while debuffed, previously 50%. Enemy curse effectiveness no longer applies to this skill, meaning unique enemies have the same effectiveness as previously, while other enemies have less. Okay. Debuff duration is now 12 seconds, previously 6 to 8.6 seconds. And quality now grants +1 to +0 to +0.5 meters to initial cast radius. Previously, Curse Zone erupts after 0 to 10% reduced delay. Okay. The skill has also received new visual effects. And lastly, for the Chronomancer here, the Sands of Time buff granted by the Quicksand Hourglass notable now grants 1 to 60% increased skill speed. It was previously cast speed, and also has new visual effects. Okay. Moving on with the Gemling here. So the Gemling Legionnaire has had some changes. So the Crystalline Potential Notable Passive skill has been removed. They've added a new notable passive skill, Essence of Virtue. This grants the Virtuous Barrier skill, Virtuous Barrier skill, while active conjures a glittering barrier that accumulates protective gemstone motes of each attribute type over time, but it loses a random mote when you are hit. Yeah, this is interesting. I like this. We've also seen some videos kind of explaining this as well. It looks pretty cool. The Advanced Thaumaturgy notable passive skill no longer grants the Thaumaturgical Dynamism skill. It instead now grants gem quality, grants socketed skills and additional effect. All gems in the game now have an additional quality stat that can be seen while holding Alt on the gem after picking this notable. Okay. The Overwhelming Toxicity notable passive skill now grants 50% less poison duration. It was previous. Yeah, this is the Pathfinder, sorry. Moving on to the Pathfinder. So the Overwhelming Toxicity notable now grants 50% less poison duration, previously 35%. Running Assault notable passive skill now grants 30% less movement speed penalty from using skills while moving. It was previously 50. Okay. So a little bit nerfed there, I guess. For the Witch Hunter, Obsessive Rituals now grants 50% less armor and evasion rating, previously 35% less. Ooh, also a nerf here to the Witch Hunter. Right? Damn. Okay. Pathfinder and Witch Hunter getting the hammer right there. Yeah, there's so many changes to the passive tree here. It seems like they've actually added a bunch of passive skills. So they've added at least like 28 new nodes here. Specified here. But there are so many of them. And also okay, so we have the skill changes as well. And support changes, like there's a lot of changes. Unique item changes. So many changes. Right here. Yeah, I don't think I can go through like all of these changes and like bug fixes and stuff. I think like I've basically been through like the what I wanted to go through, to be honest. Which is like mostly the more info about the new league and also like the rework to the end game, which is like the biggest ones for me. The other info, I mean, we have gotten that info also, kind of drip fed to us. Yeah, but this has been me reading the patch notes for as long as I could. Like this is not my favorite activity. I'm not gonna lie. Like like I enjoy kind of reading the patch notes, but now I've been reading them for like 3.5 hours, and I feel like this is enough. I hope you guys are excited. I hope you're excited for yeah, for what we can actually read in the patch notes here. Like I would really recommend you, if there are some like very specific things that you want to see, like if your build is affected or something, like head into the patch notes and kind of like hone in on like the specific topics that you wonder about, and see if you are affected in any type of way. So I'm playing so many kind of different things that like going into every single little detail of everything is just gonna be pointless. So I've kind of like gotten what I wanted out of the patch notes. I've been really excited to read them. We've been going for 3.5 hours now with the patch notes, my dudes. I hope you're excited. We are only 1 week away, my dudes. 1 week away for 0.5. I'm Mounts and Fairy Tales. You are you. These have been the patch notes for 0.5. There is a ton more there if you want to go and check it out for yourself. But that's going to be it for now. As always, my dudes, if you like what you see, hit me up with a like. If you want to see more content like this, consider subscribing. That's going to be it for now, my dudes. I hope you're having a great Friday and that you're going to have a great weekend. And I will catch you in the next one. As always, my dudes, thank you for watching.